What's everyone saying? 11-2K here. Boy, what a day of Fortnite. The EU reboot round did not disappoint. 3 games, 3 spots up for grabs, 3 winners, and what an absolute corker of a day. Look, I think the big thing with reboot round this season was obviously with it being 3 games, people were sort of worried about there being a lack of hype, right? You know, last season it's just 1 game, you know, crazy levels of hype and excitement, and there were definitely causes for concern about how the reboot round would work. I was somebody who I was sort of reserving my opinions to wait until it actually sort of happened. But I did, you know, sort of have fears and doubts, like it's not going to be as hype, you know, the 1 game is what makes it so good. But boy, were we wrong. We were so wrong, because games like this are just so good for Fortnite. So good for Fortnite. You know, it doesn't take a Fortnite connoisseur to really get what's going on and to be able to bask in the hype and the excitement behind it. Do you know what I mean? It really is electric when you are watching and you're really immersed in the situation. Let's get into sort of the games though, right? It started off in game 1. You know, the winners were Podesite, Amexa, and One Last. And, you know, to see those guys win was really cool because, you know, they came 7th in Heat 1. You know, they're one of the teams we actually got to watch their POV, and what wasn't great was the communication. These guys were going at each other. You know, I don't speak French, so I can't understand it, but I know people are going back and forth. There's arguments. There's, you know, clearly a big break in almost chemistry. Is it chemistry? It's just like, you know, people just sound like they were going at each other. People just didn't sound like they wanted to be in a team with each other, right? So to see them now sort of come through and win in the reboot round and play in the finals, like from what we saw on Saturday with the Heats, they definitely look like a trio where, yeah, if they don't make it to finals, they're splitting up. Like the chemistry is awful, right? But now there's that potential that they do well in finals and they maybe stick together. So it was really cool to see them win that game. And that was sort of the start of almost like building seeds later on for the next 2 games, right? Because in that game, you have Camiseti and Teak who come 4th, right? They come really close, and so people are sort of looking at them as almost like the favorites out of this heat. Or not, it's not even a heat, right? It's just a rerun. They're looking at the favorites out of the reboot round, and you're thinking, you know, 4th, that's close. Can they do it though? Can they sort of push? Can they fish enough to get the sort of heal off potential? Cool. Game 1, that's what we're looking at. Another big thing with game 1 was obviously Flecken, Bayon, and Diablo contesting Michael, Mexi, and Verox. Those are 2 teams who you could see winning games in the reboot round. So for them to be contesting each other in the reboot round, bang, awful. Literally awful. And beyond that, it was just like, yeah, this is just not going to work out for either team. And spoiler alert, it didn't. So once game 1's done, you know, Mex's trio, they're out of the game. And so nobody is Stealthy Stronghold. So you thought, I think there were a couple teams who did eventually land there. But really and truly, it was like, it's not even about the POI at that point. It's really is just about who's going to come and take the game by the scruff of their neck. Like, for them to win, they had 11 elimination. It wasn't like it was some tight game where, you know, they sort of just lucked along. You know, they took height. They had 11 eliminations. They were really trying to close out the game. They didn't want to leave it up to chance, up to heal off potential, nothing. They went and did that. Game 2, though, we roll in, and what a finish. I think this was the best game out of all of them, right? Game 2 had some of the most intense sort of finish that we've seen in any sort of Fortnite games in ages, in absolutely ages. It comes down to a 1v1 between Cami and Marine. And Marine, coming into today, is literally coming off of a win in the solo cash cup, right? So he's had a brilliant day because they come through, he wins the 1v1, and him, Slicks, and Lanouf qualify through to FNCS finals. And you know what, right? When you look at that trio, recognizable names, very recognizable names, but they've, you know, not been amazing this season. You know, I'm a big fan of Marine, but, you know, they've not been great at all this season. They didn't make a single round 4, I believe, in all of course. I think they made round 4 in week 1 of qualifiers, and they stunk it up, and then they didn't make it once again. In their heat, they were like 12th as well, so it's not like they were even close to really coming top 6. Actually, no, that's wrong. They weren't 12th in the heat. They were 7th in the heat. Savage trio was 12th in the heat. But yeah, so they were close. And I think actually what was funny about that, with them coming 7th, is game 1, Amex's trio wins. they were the team that came 7th, 1 away from qualifying auto-qual. Game 2, Marine's team wins the game. They came 7th. They were 1 away from getting the qual. So going into the last game, people were thinking Cammy's team came 7th in Heat 2. Maybe they can finally win it, because Cammy literally got 4th in game 1, 2nd in game 2 because he lost the 1v1. And so going into the last game, it was really sort of like sad. Like people sort of looking at it like, damn man, hopefully they win it, because they have been really good in these games. It was really weird though, because in the 1v1, you know, it comes down to basically a heal off, and Cammy just ends up dying to zone because he doesn't have enough heals. But he actually dropped a flopper. Like he threw a flopper. Sundown sort of pointed it out to me. I didn't even notice it at first. When I rewatched it, I did notice it. But he actually threw a flopper down right before Teak died. And I think he might have been trying to pass a flopper to Teak. But like, it just didn't make sense. It was sort of the dumbest sort of play. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get Sven, their coach, to explain that one to me. But yeah, it didn't make sense. And that cost them the game. That cost them a spot in the final. It was crazy though, because right now they're at boot camp, right? BL are at boot camp. So I believe like Slicks and Seti are in like the same building. I don't know about same room, but they're in the same building with each other. So like Renault on Twitter is like, I want to be happy because my player qualled, but my other player just didn't qual in a very heartbreaking manner. What do I do? Stuff like that you love to see. I'm hoping they make some cool content out of that. Like I hope we get to see the IRL footage of the reactions and whatnot. And speaking of, go check out their Twitters, right? Because, you know, you can see their sort of raw reactions after the game. Savid himself was streaming it. And so once we get into game 3, right? Game 3 was a crazy game, because even though I think game 2 had the best ending, game 3 was what you expect from the reboot round, because it was now the final chance, the last chance that you get, right? You had crazy sort of teams coming out of nowhere, right? I wanted Airwax, Vatu, and Skype to qual. They didn't, but you know, there was a point in that game during first moving where height just is changing non-stop over and over again between all these sort of different teams who are trying to get a spot in that finals. And ultimately, it's Crizzy, Rifler, and Savid who get height. And so all of a sudden, I'm getting flashbacks to Savid in solo FNCS qualifying. And, you know, if any of you remember that crazy stream that I had where I was like, you'll never clutch again, and I kick my PC and it turns off and all this super hype stuff, and I'm getting flashbacks back to that. And then to top it off, Savid drops down, drops some stinks, hits 2 absolutely out of this world pump shots. Like, I kid you not, you know, I've been saying it for a long time. I know Bala used to say it a bunch back in the day. Savid has some of the best shotgun aim, if not the best shotgun aim in all of the game. Like, he is absolutely absurd in clutch scenarios when it comes to just having to hit a clutch shot. He has real ice in his veins. Like, I kid you not, that kid is nasty. And he hits 2 massive shots, makes it a 2v1, and his team win it from there. And wow, what a story for them, because they've not been phenomenal once again. I feel like, you know, the reality is with a lot of these reboot round teams that made it through, they haven't really been phenomenal. I guess MX's team have been the best so far this season, but they haven't been spectacular. In the round 4s we've seen them in, they weren't too great. Mariah's trio just haven't looked amazing whatsoever. Outside of the heats for those 2 trios, because obviously coming 7th in your heat is still quite good, right? But for those 2 trios, cool, mediocre. But for Savid's trio, nothing spectacular whatsoever, right? They came 12th in their heat, didn't look too good. And their trio, who I did have sort of high hopes for, because they are being coached by, you know, people who I sort of respect and believe are good coaches. And they had, you know, sort of let me know, like, look, these guys actually are pretty decent from how we've been coaching them and whatnot. So yeah, to see those guys sort of make it through was a very nice to see. Very, very nice to see. I think the big thing is, you know, what do they now do in finals, right? What do they now do in finals? Where do they sort of go? I think I will do sort of a finals preview later on in the week. But yeah, really exciting reboot round. I'm looking forward to seeing how the sort of NA1 plays out. I have that up on my screen now. It's in game 1. But I'm doing this off the top. There's no script. So if I missed anything, let me know down in the comment sections below. Let me know what you thought of the reboot round as well. Let me know if you thought it was hype. What was your favorite moments? And I'll see you guys all soon. Peace.